Sam here with jbugs.com. In the midst of prepping our 1963 Resto Custom Beetle for a new master cylinder, we decided to pull the pedal assembly in order to clean it up and swap out to a roller pedal. We started that process by disconnecting the clutch cable from the clutch arm when we noticed that the clutch return spring was broken. This gave us an opportunity to cover the removal and installation of a clutch operating shaft and the associated bushings and parts. This repair is done with the engine out of the car, as getting to the cross shaft inside the transmission would be impossible with the engine in place. We have the front wheels chocked and the back of the car is jacked up and set up on jack stands already. Inside the bell housing on the transmission, the throwout bearing clips are popped off the shaft and the throwout bearing is removed. The clutch cable adjustment nut is loosened from the cable with a wrench. 1966 and later models have a wing nut, so no wrench is needed. Holding the cable with a pair of pliers or vice grips is usually necessary to keep a cable from twisting while removing the nut. Next, the circlip that holds the clutch arm in place is removed with a pair of snap ring pliers. The clutch arm can now be removed from the operating shaft. Some arms will slide off with just a bit of pulling, others, like ours, require some assistance. A punch, hammer, and eventually a 3-arm puller were needed to pull off the clutch arm. The difficulty pulling off our clutch arm set the tone for this repair, as the rest of the components took much more effort than they would normally require. The broken clutch return spring is removed, along with the metal cap, and the bushing set screw is unthreaded from the transmission. Normally the shaft could then be pushed towards the main bushing, and the bushing could be pulled out. Then the shaft could be slid out back into the transmission bell housing and out of the transmission. Our bushing was stubborn, so the hammer and punch came out again, and eventually, after breaking off both the arms, we removed the shaft and then tapped out the outer bushing from the transmission. Now the small end bushing can be slid out of the transmission, and again, ours took more effort than normal. We modified a distributor drive gear puller to fit inside the bushing and eventually got the bushing out. The cross shaft installation begins with the new bushing kit shown here. The original clutch cable arm and shaft cover are kept and will be installed with a new cross shaft inner bushing, outer 4-piece bushing, which replaces the original bronze bushing, 2 snap rings, a washer, and a set screw. First, the small bushing is greased lightly and pushed into place in the transmission. The larger outer bushing is greased, then slid into the transmission at the opposite side, and the alignment hole is lined up with the set screw. Then the set screw is threaded in partially, just flush with the edge of the bushing. The new cross shaft is prepped with a snap ring, slid onto the shaft, followed by the washer and a greased inner bushing seal. The shaft is then slid into place through the outer bushing and with a bit of pressure, pushed in far enough to clear the inner bushing boss on the transmission. Then it's pushed all the way up to the outer arm. Now the greased inner bushing is slid onto the shaft, noting the position of the alignment hole. It is pressed and pushed all the way into the transmission using a flathead screwdriver. And after rotating the shaft back and forth and tightening the bushing screw slightly to ensure it is in place, the bushing set screw is tightened and the arm is rotated to make sure that there is no binding on the shaft. The outer bushing seal is greased and slid over the shaft into the bushing, followed by the metal cap and the clutch return spring. The clutch cable arm is then aligned and slid into place on the shaft. Then the clutch return spring is positioned on the arm, then tapped into place on the transmission. Now the clutch arm can be tapped onto the shaft all the way past the snap ring groove, and the snap ring can be installed with the snap ring pliers. A flathead screwdriver is used to make sure that the ring is fully seated in the groove. Finally, the inner washer and snap ring are tapped into place onto the inner groove, and the installation is complete. With the clutch return spring, bushings, and cross shaft replaced, we can now get back to our intended job of cleaning up the pedal assembly and swapping out the accelerator pedal for a rotor pedal. That will be on our next video. In the meantime, head over to jbugs.com for all your vintage Volkswagen parts and accessories.